2022 was one of my favorite years of movies over the last couple of years, mainly because we've spent a lot of the time over the last 2 years in lockdowns and isolation and all that good stuff. So it's finally great to be able to go back in theaters throughout the entirety of the year and be able to see everything that's come out and not interrupted. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that did come out this year was made throughout the COVID pandemic and everything, but I had such an awesome time, and because I take a lot of inspiration from being able to go down and sit in a movie theater and enjoy the movie experience for creating my own content itself, I was really glad to be absolutely amazed by a lot of the projects that came out on the big screen as well as at home. Today I wanted to go through my favorite movies of the year. I've got top 5 favorites, including an additional favorite one throughout the whole year, as well as 3 of my favorite TV shows I watched at home. I'll quickly go through these TV shows first and then we'll head on to movies, but starting off with number 3 was the documentary Welcome to Wrexham on Disney+. Now, I absolutely loved this doco. I had no idea it existed until maybe a week before it came out, and then I pretty much binged the whole 12 episodes within the space of 3 or 4 days, which I never really do with TV shows, but I absolutely loved this. It was obviously a completely real documentary about Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. I think I've stuffed up his pronunciation, but they essentially buy a lower tier division English football club that's not in the Premier League and not in the league just below that, but a few leagues down, with the attempt to bring it up and bring it back to life. Now, this documentary had so much heart, and it wasn't more so just about the club, but how Rob and Ryan actually interacted with the whole town of Wrexham, and being able to learn about all of the people that supported the club so much. And for a lot of them there, Wrexham, which seems on the outside for a lot of people that don't appreciate football that much, as just a football club, but for them it was like their lifeblood and their long passion and everything that they kind of hoped and dreamed for whenever they came home from work. So it was a heart-touching TV show and definitely one of my top favorites for the whole year. Number 2 is Kenobi. Now, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and although Kenobi did have its ups and downs, I absolutely loved the really high points of the Kenobi show, especially the last couple episodes, as well as John Williams' score, the Kenobi new theme. Now, it definitely wasn't my favorite Star Wars show by any means, and it did have a lot of problems, but as I said, the high points of the show, including obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi played by Ewan McGregor returning, Hayden Christensen, along with some of the epic fights and some of the scenes towards the end of the show, really kind of sold it for me. And I have to admit, when I'm looking through all the scores that I've listened to in the back, that John Williams score throughout this year is the song I've most listened to, which it's a great score. I love it. Even though it's similar to some other ones, it's really great, but that's my number 2 for the year. And my number 1 favorite TV show for the year, without a doubt, is Andor. I absolutely adored this show. It was a massive surprise, especially by how many people are now getting onto it, including a lot of non-Star Wars fans too. It showed us a deep, gritty, dirty look of what life was like for regular people inside the Empire, as well as really showcasing how Diego Luna, alongside the entire other cast, really shined and brought out the characters within the Star Wars universe. I did a massive video essay on this, which has gotten so much support, so thank you if you have watched it. I really enjoyed Andor, and I can't wait to do some more analysis on it. I really hope the Lucasfilm team and everyone else at Star Wars develops more shows like it, and I'm really looking forward to season 2. And I honestly think for a lot of people out there, Andor's not only the best Star Wars show, but the best TV show of last year too. So looking forward to seeing more of it. Tony Gilroy knocked it out of the park, and his whole writing team. Best show of the year for me by far. Okay, now we'll head over to my favorite movies of the year. I have to admit, I don't watch nearly as many TV shows as I do movies, just because I don't have the time to be able to sit down and watch tons of TV shows throughout the year. But whenever I do go to watch a movie, I can go to the theater, dedicate some time, sit down and relax and watch a film. And it's something that I hope to be able to produce one day, but we'll see how that goes. So I saw a lot of movies. We'll start off with my 5th favorite movie of the year, and that was Everything Everywhere All at Once, a movie I heard about a couple days before I saw it, very early, and I think it was June, and then I went and saw it straight after that. Wow, what an absolute incredible story the movie has in terms of its production, as well as the actual narrative of the film. The fact that it was such a small budget film, I think it was A24 that did produce it, but the Daniels directing it alongside with such an amazing cast. It was an incredibly heartfelt story, along with some amazing visual effects from what was in the end a not really huge team compared to some of the other big Marvel films. And in my opinion, it's a whole movie about family and the multiverse, and it was a better multiverse film from what I can see compared to the other multiverse film that came out this year, which was saying a lot because two very different size budgets and different studios, but an amazing movie. And I think this film will be the #1 spot for a lot of people out there in terms of inspiration, because it shows what you can do without such a massive global hundreds of $millions of budgets. Even though it did have a big budget compared to a lot of other indie films, a great film and a good surprise for me throughout this year. Coming in at number 4 was The Batman, and The Batman was one of the big movies for me that really got me passionate for the cinematographer Greg Fraser. He and the whole team did an incredible job with actually creating the visual look of Gotham, and throughout the entire film, whether it was close-up shots of Batman to those incredible silhouette sequences throughout the fight gun scenes. I remember my favorite scene throughout the whole movie was Batman coming through the hallway, and of course the big car chase too. So an amazing movie. I don't think it was my favorite Batman movie of all time, but just the whole visual look of the film really put it up there for me. And I think the narrative, although being 3 hours long, was really fantastic too. I really loved seeing Batman being a true detective. Some of my favorite Batman stories in the end come from the Justice League Unlimited series, as well as the original animated Batman 2, especially Mask of the Phantasm. And a lot of those animated shows back in the original days that showed Batman being Batman was him being a detective. And a lot of the recent Batman iterations, apart from this one that just came out, didn't really show Batman as being a proper detective. So this whole film was about him solving the crime of the Riddler, and I absolutely loved it. Not, again, my favorite Batman movie of all time. I'm not too sure. I think I'm going to have to say the typical Dark Knight for that one, but this was great. I probably watched this film the most in theaters, and I can't wait to get it on 4K Blu-ray really soon. Now, coming in number 3, it is Bullet Train. Now, every time I absolutely love a movie, I have to go out and buy the steelbook for it, and I definitely did. Look how beautiful the artwork is on this. It's absolutely gorgeous with the purple and the whole album art there, I like to call it. But Bullet Train was a massive surprise for the year. Again, similar to Welcome to Wrexham, I didn't really know about Bullet Train until it came out and saw the promotional material. Obviously, a lot of movies you do see with leaks and stuff, but considering it was quite a relatively smaller film compared to some other ones, this movie was just complete fun from start to finish. From the score or the rendition of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees in Japanese, to the setting, to the colors, to the cinematography and the non-stop action. There are two types of movies, I guess I like to say. There are really deep story-driven movies where you've got to have a lot of, meaning and depth, and then there's absolutely awesome popcorn movies where you just go there to enjoy the good times, like a big roller coaster ride. But Bullet Train was a little bit of both, and it was a great popcorn movie for me mainly. And I bought the steelbook, I saw it twice in theaters, and again, such a fun time. And my standout characters for this film was definitely Lemon and Tangerine. These guys are an absolutely iconic duo, and I think we should have a whole TV show for them in the future. But yeah, definitely a well-earned number 3 spot, and I can't wait to watch it again. Number 2 is a movie that I only watched just recently, and that was Knives Out Glass Onion, directed by Rian Johnson. I really feel that the murder mystery franchise and genre has kind of taken a dive over the last 10-15 years or so, but this murder mystery was absolutely awesome, especially the original Knives Out, released a couple of years ago with that incredible cast. Obviously, Benoit Blanc comes back for the return on this one, and it does not get any better than this. It's honestly the perfect sequel of a movie, mainly because obviously the one main character from the old film was Benoit Blanc, or Daniel Craig's detective character, is now in the second film. But because you don't have to watch the original one, but they do have that very similar murder mystery kind of feel, I absolutely loved it. There's so many hidden details. Every single time you watch this movie, the more so than you do the last, you'll find more details. And Knives Out, the original one at least, I keep finding new things throughout, and it's just so cool to see how intricate and how much detail the filmmakers actually put into the movie to put little clues and everything to go along the way. So when you watch it for the first time, you're like, oh yeah, that was kind of good. I didn't really see that coming, but every time you watch it again and again, you see more and more details, which that's a really important thing, because for me, it inspires me to put every single little detail in all of my work into the future. Knives Out Glass Onion was set in the islands of Greece, which was obviously a very different environment compared to the original being set in the winter areas of America, and I loved it. I think the cast was great too. Edward Norton and Dave Bautista were some standouts there, and I love watching it the second and third time that I did in theaters, and I hope, fingers crossed, that it does come out on Blu-ray, because I have the original one on 4K Blu-ray, and I can't wait to get the next one as well. It's on Netflix at the moment, so go watch it there, because it was only in theaters for the first week. But that was my number 2 spot. And to my number one spot, although it wasn't necessarily my favorite movie of the year, it's the one that I did enjoy the most going to theaters and seeing it, and really brought a smile to my face. And that was, of course, Top Gun Maverick. Now, what an amazing film this was. I watched the original Top Gun probably like 10 or so years ago, and I've been waiting for this film to come out ever since. And it's so cool to see how many more people or new people are now following the Top Gun franchise. And this was, again, similar to Knives Out, one of the best sequels of all time. I absolutely loved the whole practicality of the film, as well as that entire sequence on the beach in the sunset with the One Republic song. Just absolute cinema perfection. Movies like these really don't get made enough of these days, where there's barely any noticeable CGI and there's a huge push for practicality. I know Tom Cruise and the whole directing filmmaking team for this put a lot of effort into actually making everything as real as possible, in addition to creating a lot of brand new camera rigs in order to make a lot of the cockpit sequences work. So again, a fantastic movie. My favorite sequence is the whole beach scene throughout the middle of the film, and honestly, every time I go to watch this movie and I left the theaters and also obviously picked it up on 4K Blu-ray at home and I finished the film, at the end of the credits I'm like, man, I really want to make movies just like this in the future, because it was inspiring and I love how many people got around it, and especially how it broke so many box office records that wasn't a big franchise film. So yeah, so Top Gun Maverick, my number one spot for 2022. But wait, there is one more movie I haven't actually spoken about just yet, and it is my favorite movie of last year. Now, the reason why I'm saying it is a bonus movie was because it technically did get released in November 2021, but it did come out in Australia and I saw it in theaters in February 2022. And I absolutely loved the film. I watched the two original movies only just recently, and just because of how heartfelt and emotional I got towards the end of the movie and how I thought the whole story was, especially because it was one of my first films that I went back to the movies in 2022, and it was at a small, tight-knit theater, very, very intimate, as well as there was no one really there. It was an absolute blast, and that movie, of course, was Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really don't know what to say about this movie. I would have thought that a whole film that was based around about a group of kids running around and chasing ghosts that were all done in CGI and obviously quite fake, and it was humorous, I would have thought that would have been a bit of a recipe for disaster, along with some other movies and TV shows out there where the main cast is around kids and everything. But this movie was absolutely incredible. It packed so much respect for the original two Ghostbusters movies in just 6 minutes of a scene towards the end than the entire 2017 Ghostbusters did. And I haven't actually seen the 2017 Ghostbusters. I think I might just hold off on that for another few more years, but I was almost brought to tears towards the end of the movie, especially when watching how they handled characters and relationships and everything. I felt for every single character that was on the screen. It was a true beautiful film, and I can't wait to watch it in the end as well. It's hard to kind of describe in words. I don't want to give any spoilers at all if you haven't watched it, but watch the original two movies, and the meaning behind the end of this last movie, as well as how it's built up, really means a lot, especially when you consider some of the real life circumstances that came around the whole cast and crew. But anyway, those are my favorite movies and TV shows of the year. I'm really keen to hear what yours are. Please let me know in the comment section below. I like doing these because I hope to make my own movies in the future, and all of these movies and TV shows act as inspiration to me to create awesome things in the future. But have a wonderful day, stay safe throughout these holidays, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.